they lived in, and they will also enjoy the market that's in their next neighborhood that they're going to live in, because there's a market in every neighborhood that people can enjoy. What else was there for the resident? Yes, they have received, and their neighbors have been receiving city grants to help make their homes sustainable and maintain their homes. Also, this person is either a homeowner or is greatly encouraged by his or her landlord to maintain their property. And that landlord is doing more than just coming by and collecting rent once a month, but is actually being a part of that person's life. So we also ran into a tourist who found that the riverfront was a huge highlight of the city. They really liked the safe and easy walkways to and from the downtown area that were provided to the riverfront. They really enjoyed the trolley ride that stopped there and dropped them off at the marina, so that way they could enjoy the crew races that took place on the river. They really also enjoyed the food and music festival, and they really liked how there was something for everybody in the downtown area, whether it was music, art, whether you like hip-hop, reggae, funk, jazz, whatever it was, there was more than just going to a bar and drinking all night. So for the business owner we met had actually been encouraged by the city of Springfield to open and sustain their small business. And they were always constantly sharing resources with other businesses, scratching their backs as their backs were being scratched by the other businesses, so that all the businesses in that one little neighborhood actually kind of formed a small little community, and it was very sustainable within that small community. The high school sophomore that we ran into, they told us a lot about being excited about the college opportunities that they found in Springfield and not having to go elsewhere, and being able to stay in their hometown because the colleges and the higher education in Springfield was a huge opportunity for them. They also were excited that after they got out of college, they could find a job in Springfield, and they could make a career in Springfield and move on with their life and not have to go anywhere else. So these people were really cool. And thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, who'd like to go next? All right, go ahead.
Good morning, Bruce Shaw. And for our table, we talked about 20 years in the future, recapture the sense of community, but for the 21st century with deliver and integration. Diversity, and integration. Also neighborhoods with opportunities for families to grow and to be multi-generational type households and communities. The civil aspects, parks, libraries, things like that as the center of the community. Even possibly having the library move from where it's currently to downtown location. Business employment, downtown as a destination, local retailers thriving, where we have jobs in the education, medical, government, financial, technology. People have good jobs and learn skills here that they can continue to use those skills in our city. Successful vocational as well as academic training. On the culture side, visit our museums, Hall of Fame. Attractions should be embedded in the city, so not being separated by the highway stuff, but comes all the way up and makes it a more pleasant atmosphere. Values, Springfield is a family city, a great place to live, where you can raise your family in a very peaceful community. Great accomplishments, we talk about renew and rebuild school buildings, a riverfront quadrangle integrated in the community. Hall of Fame do more to be a part of our community, be more a part of our city. Again, financial stability in the city itself, and those type things we felt would help the city greatly, and it'd be a great place to come 20 years from now.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Our group came up and we looked at it, again, visitors, residents, business owner, and student. If we were to come back 20 years from now and talk to a visitor, a tourist that's coming in town, they would be talking about how walkable and vibrant the Main Street is and the entire downtown area. That they really liked the idea that everything was sort of connected and that there were signs pointing to how you get to different places in ways that they could understand and not get lost and felt very comfortable. And that there are also kiosks throughout the area so that they could find out what was going on and when it was going on. That was very, very tourist friendly. That there'd be shopping, eating, and entertainment and activities in the downtown area 24/7. And that there were other cultural destinations that they would want to go to. Again, very highly publicized, easily accessible, and find out and at a either free or no cost. That would be one of the things that they would be looking for. And that there was a great sense of things being safe and clean. And that there was a great economic and cultural mix here in the Springfield. The resident, we ran into somebody that we knew. They had been living here since we had left. We knew them before. And they could talk about how they've sort of graduated from when they first began to really become a resident of Springfield, and then how they've moved through the housing areas, a starter home. Then they wanted to, instead of going out to find a larger home, they were able to buy here in Springfield, something that they could afford as their family began to grow. And then when they got older and they wanted to sort of downsize because their kids have moved out, gone to college and everything else, there was something else for them to buy and still stay in Springfield. So it could be a two-bedroom place for them to go to. We want to reclaim the title City of Homes, and that and a home doesn't have to mean a single-family housing unit, but that a home is a home as opposed to an apartment, and that you can make those kinds of things a home. Remind of the song, "A house is not a home until there's somebody there that you really love." Green space is extremely important, that we are able to deal with how people can have fun. And we say green space, but also because we're New Englanders, white space too, because of the snow and everything else. And instead of being locked in the home because everything is snowbound, that we can utilize those parks that we have as we get into the different kinds of snow sculptures and those kinds of seasons that pass through, and able to utilize the green space, white space, brown and multicolored spaces as the seasons change. That our schools, they thought that the schools were fantastic, and that they had their choice between having their kids walk to school or be bused to a magnet school, where they can decide on the kind of curriculum that they wanted their children to have. And again, that it be safe and clean, that there are cultural opportunities everywhere, and that we be able to promote those cultural opportunities, because when we looked at the vast kinds of festivals that we have, that would be a draw for Springfield. So you have the Puerto Rican Festival, you have the Greek Festival, the Italian Festival, you have Stone Soul Picnic, and then draw from all over the region for people to come here, and people would feel safe about coming to Springfield and partaking. And again, you need to have the different signs and kiosks and advertisement so that people would know what was going on. We ran into a sophomore who was working downtown because they had a job that they really enjoyed and was preparing them for the future. That sophomore loved the city, that there was a lot going on for that young person, that they enjoyed their school because it kept them active and vibrant, and the curriculum was one that really engaged them. And they wanted to stay here. They wanted to stay in Springfield after they graduated. And they could do that because we have a richness of colleges around us. And so they could go to college and still maintain their connection to Springfield. So that they could see opportunities here for themselves. Nighttime activities. This is a sophomore, 16, 17 years old. They're moving up, they're becoming more independent, and they need to have some activities that teach them how to be adults and how to be responsible. That they feel a part of the city. That there are physical activities for many young people to take part in, and many options for them to do that. And that Springfield itself has a focus on youth development, that we want to develop our young people to become a respectful part of the community, and that there is a need for us to do that. We need to recognize that. The business owner, they love the idea. They're strategically located, and it's superior. They live and work in Springfield, the business owner. That there's a robust talent and an educated workforce for that person to be involved in, and that would be one of the key attractions to keeping their business there. That there are loyal and invested employees, that the employees can see that living and working for this particular business and living in Springfield helps Springfield. That there's a partnership between the city of Springfield and the administration and City Hall and the business that goes on in Springfield. Many times there are a lot of red tape kinds of things that the business owner has to put up with. But there would be a true partnership now. And that they see a great future for staying here in Springfield, and that there is a supportive business climate, that there is an educated consumers in Springfield that realize to support, for that business to stay here, that they needed to support that business. And I think that's about it. Thank you.
That's a pretty stunning vision, if you ask me. All right, this table right here.
Good morning, I'm Tom Harrelson, and I had the opportunity to be at a table, a very diverse table, who had a lot of fun and suggested too that maybe that white space may not be as big a concern 20 years from now, because the temperature is going to be about 10 degrees high. But we met this group of resident and business owner, tourist and a high school student at a local restaurant right near the downtown area that was very appealing because it served locally grown food and produce. And I'm going to. Thanks, Joe. I'm going to be great. Thank you. All right, super. And the appeal brought these folks together on foot, by mass transit, and by car, and it was easy to get to. And this business owner was very proud of the fact too that she lived very close to this business that she owned, and had grown not only the food in a locally urban farm environment, but shared that outcome with the general area of Springfield. But what they talked about too, particularly with a tourist who was in Springfield to visit the arts offering that Springfield has strengthened over this 20-year period, is the ease of access to the arts, the interconnectivity, and the fact that the arts also is very cohesive with the history of Springfield, whether it's the Underground Railroad Museum or local Springfield Museum, or the long-term offerings of the quadrangle. The appeal is extensive, not just to the greater Springfield area. And 20 years from now, it's that much easier to get to because mass transit will connect Springfield more quickly and efficiently with Hartford and other destinations south, and Worcester and Boston, other destinations east and north. And that mass transit development, whether it's rail or bus, is very important as well inside the city to make it easier for people to get to jobs, whether they're located in Springfield or outside of the area. But importantly too, that the job development in the next 20 years in Springfield offers more local opportunities, whether it's entrepreneurial for folks to start new businesses and remain here and live close to those businesses, or whether those businesses are in other areas that they have to commute to. The jobs also reflect a multitude of educational opportunities, particularly where we have resources like the Technical Community College, one of the largest close to the largest in the state, that offers not only specific skill development education, but opportunities integrated with the high school opportunities for people to get their GED qualification completed and to go on to a specific job skill if that's their direction. The transit connection is vital as well to the integration of the educational institutions in the city to make it easier for kids to get back and forth and/or to get to job opportunities located locally. The cost of education was critical, we thought as well, so that we also retain that resource of skilled or more educated kids, and that makes it more reasonable for people of all ages, young and older, to seek more education. The business opportunities, we thought in the city too, had grown to the extent where there was more of a sharing by neighborhoods of retail, bookstores, restaurants, etc. But in talking to the tourists who had come in to the city for the arts experience, the tourist also was aware of a new sense of pride of the residents, the business owner, the resident, that even a high school youngster reflected that, a sense of pride in living in Springfield and being from Springfield. And that pride was extended into the neighborhoods and the diversity of the ethnic population in the neighborhood, so that it wasn't concentrated neighborhood by neighborhood necessarily, but that the ethnicity was spread throughout the city more perhaps than it was 20 years ago. And that pride was reflected too in the neighborhood expression of pride of ownership and control of property, which included code enforcement, stronger code enforcement, but basically that pride was expressed in the way that people took better care of their properties and were concerned about their neighbors' properties, and there was a sharing of that. So each neighborhood reflected that same pride that was expressed across the city. And the pride of neighborhoods was really a pride of the city total. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's move it along a little quicker so we'll have a chance to get to our last exercise, but this is really quite wonderful.
Thank you very much, Linda Fitzgerald. I will say that we were walking down the street, and unfortunately we didn't run into those 4 people and found ourselves back here in 2011. So we started talking about the issues that are going on in the city, and I think that's the next section. We talked about density and what zoning means and what urban renewal does when buildings are torn down, not rehabilitated. We talked about the need for affordable housing in the city, a need to improve schools to be looked at for its high standards, a model for the state, so that we could have pride in our schools in Springfield, and the issue of more jobs in the city, so that people are not only living in the city, but they're going to their jobs in the city, not coming into the city and then going home to the suburbs at night. Transportation being an issue, that there is a stigma that taking the bus is something that's not one of pride in being green, but you can't afford a car. It's hard to go to the library and other things in the city when there are decreased hours. And we want to keep Springfield beautiful and attainable by having paths to walk on and bike on, development of the river front, and rebuilding with energy efficiency in the city, not only with businesses, but in our houses. Looking at abandoned housing and doing something about it, not just tearing it down. But we have zoning issues in the city, lot sizes, for instance, the codes that are hampering, not helping, businesses that go on a model of building, getting the parking in the front and the doorways in the back, which impedes pedestrian traffic. So we're still here in 2011, but we're still looking for the 4 people.
I think we can pop you in that we didn't, not only did we not go very far forward, we went back 25 years. And I think we felt we had to do that because we felt that the future did have to relate to Springfield's past in some way, and there needed to be a common understanding of what worked in the past and what didn't, and what needed to be remembered and what needed to be corrected. So specifically, in looking back, people remembered a time when Springfield had a very vibrant industrial community and a great number of jobs. So that the idea for the future would probably be that not only would we be drawing innovative jobs, as you've spoken about, but also maintaining and rebuilding the opportunities of blue-collar workers. So really, as a whole, jobs. The opportunity within the city for people to live and work in the city, get from home to work within the city on public transportation or by walking. Because having a transit system but nowhere to go with it wouldn't help any of us. So a great deal of focus on that, and some of the things that seem critical to having made that possible in the past that would be needed today would be support for small businesses within the city to grow, and support in general for businesses who wanted to be entrepreneurs and try things out. And that required political accountability and transparency that hasn't always been present in the city. In relation to that, a similar level of kind of accountability needed to exist in the building stock of the city. That there's a tremendous history of beautiful homes in the city, but that sometimes absentee landlords has led to the building stock declining. That there needed to be, that would also support the idea of keeping residents here throughout the length of their life. That there needed to be community centers and opportunities to allow seniors to stay in the city after their period of employment might come to an end, but that the city was rich enough in resources and possibilities for them and housing opportunities that they would stay in the city. So I guess I would suggest a diversity of housing opportunities and diversity of community resources. And we imagined that transit was critical to all of this, both interior public transportation options and walkability issues like we discussed, but also remembering that the city exists here because it's a turning point regionally between the north-south and east-west routes from Boston and then from New York. And that to be restored couldn't be restored in the way it had existed because times have changed, but that bringing rail back was critical to recapturing the city's prominence at a regional level. And other types of transit options relating to rail would be useful to the city that hopefully are coming. We were also interested in, I think, so much of it had to do, again, with trying to make the city vibrant for the people within the city as well as drawing people in, so that our interest wasn't so much, our conversation wasn't as much about meeting a tourist, but we did discuss that the resources that exist that draw people to the riverfront, there needed to be systems in place, tour buses or transit systems, and generally, I think, beyond that, ways to try and communicate that the city is more than the Basketball Hall of Fame by actually making it possible for people to get from the other side of the highway up to the beautiful historic districts of the city and the historic sites, the quadrangle, and places like that. And that would require really a broader program of valuing all that exists within the city and bringing it up and bringing it to light and supporting it. And in general, going back to the original concern, I think our goal was to really see a city that had more poverty in general and just address poverty issues and by primarily providing jobs and doing what it could to support job development. Is there anything missed in this?
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right. There's some really remarkable and incredible visions. Huge list of things I think systemically that we can build upon for our next meeting. All right, to prepare for the next exercise, we're going to do this really briefly. We want to share with you some quick best practices. These are some practical examples that have happened in other places that we think in particular could have some life opportunities or at least spark your imagination about some things that could happen in Springfield. So we have 3 different members of our team that are going to share that with us. So we'll begin with Stephen Bingley from Concordia.
I'm going to talk about, actually I've heard a number of words. I heard integration, I heard sharing, I heard community services. So I'm going to talk about a project that's in southwest Houston. It's in a neighborhood called Gulfton. Actually, San Vicente is here. Where is she? Oh, she just left. Anyway, Jimena was one of the people on our team at Concordia who worked on this project. It actually has been called kind of the Ellis Island of Texas. It's the place where the most number of immigrants are living and trying to get educated, trying to find jobs. So in this particular area, the Neighborhood Centers Incorporated is a local organization that pulled together an appreciative inquiry process to ask that community what do they need, what are the kinds of services that they need in order to support that community. So they came up with a lot of different ideas, but in short, They said we need an elementary school, but we also need a health clinic because our kids, need help. They need health help. We need an economic development center. We need a place that we can have business incubator. We need to have a credit union because we have all of these predatory lenders around here that are just sucking money out of our community, and we need somebody we can trust to help us get credit and loan us money. We need a tax office because it's the same reason. We have all these predatory tax offices that really are just taking our money. And they said we need an arts center because we're a very creative community. Even though we don't have a lot of money, we do have, the large majority of this community was from Latin America. And they had a lot of creative ideas and a very rich culture that they wanted to maintain. And they said, we need a place to meet. We need a community meeting hall. And they said, we want a place that we can perform because we have performance as a part of our culture. And we want to be able to perform. So Neighborhood Citizens Incorporated pulled all of these ideas together, and we all worked together to come up with a plan for this center. It's called the Baker Ripley Center, and it has all of those things on one 8-acre site. There were a number of trees that were there already, big live oak trees, because the center had originally been a number of tall buildings that were senior housing, and that they had kind of fallen down. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail except to say that what's interesting about this site is that it's not one building it's not one building that's a community center. It's a number of buildings. It's a whole campus of buildings. So really the outdoor spaces are just as important as the indoor spaces. In fact, on one of the walls of the space, there's a movie theater, a movie projection screen, so that the outdoor movies can be shown and the community can come together and watch these movies. There's a farmer's market. In fact, Partners for Public Spaces is here with us as one of our partners, and they actually worked with us on this project as well to create opportunities for a farmer's market along one of the adjacent streets that was closed. And there's a beautiful fountain for the kids with water shooting up, and the kids can play in the fountain. So I'm just giving you a little bit of a vision, actually, about what's possible. Because what I heard were a lot of the same ideas. And so imagine, if you will, that a place like this, because now we know that to educate our children is not to just build a school and throw them in the classrooms every day, but we also have to make sure that all of these other services are provided. And those are the kinds of things that used to be provided in 25 years ago, because maybe we had a stronger sense of community. So in this particular case, it's about manifesting that community and those programs that support community. And if we imagine that at every one of our school sites, we could all have all this diversity of services, and that it's all walkable, that everybody could get to it by walking, then what we could actually have is a more equitable allocation of services. We could have a more walkable city. And while people are walking, they're usually losing weight, so we could have a healthier city. And also while they're walking, they're not burning fossil fuels, so we could have a more sustainable city. So anyway, that's an idea to think about.
So as you can see, it's all about food. I'm going to talk about quickly about a case study of a neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio called Wyman's Park. And it was fascinating to hear the visions that you all put forth. And like Steve, I heard the word community, I heard diversity, I heard giving everybody a future in this community, because if everybody has a future, everybody benefits, and some pretty good things. This is it will be a quick description of a neighborhood where all these goals were present. This is what this neighborhood, this is why and for what purpose this neighborhood was brought back. Wineland Park is the largest concentration of Section 8 housing units in Columbus, Ohio. It is a community that lost more than half its population over the last 20 years, full of vacant lots and all the challenges that you're familiar with. Lots of neighbors and lots of cities have these challenges. The commitment was made to revitalize this neighborhood as a neighborhood that had a place for everybody, but also a future for everybody. And the fact that it's happening, I think, is just something, gives us all food for thought. First of all, we didn't start with thinking about housing, we started thinking about the Main Street. Where do people come together? Why would they want to live in this neighborhood? Well, it's having a great market that doesn't turn its back to the street, but really embraces the street, the public realm, and is part of creating a new neighborhood square. That as we bring retail back, we bring it back not just as a place to go and get some pizza, but in ways that really create community spaces that offer people chances to come together. I mentioned a community with lots of poverty. All of the yellow that you see on the image to your left were blocks that were basically still occupied, had lots of houses. A lot of them were boarded up. You can get a sense of what this was like, but there were a lot of folks living there. Again, the highest concentration of Section 8 housing units. So planning looked really very much at how do we preserve and reinforce and restore what's there and then fill the gaps, as opposed to changing what's there. I think that's important to note. We did a lot of work looking at connections, at public space, at what really told the story, the culture, the history of this place, the things you've been talking about. And out of this emerged a plan that had a lot of nuance, and there was no one-size-fits-all here, to bring different parts of this neighborhood back in different ways with a rigorous planning process. But I have to emphasize, this wasn't just about housing and stores. It was about a new school. It was a lot about human and social services, because the average kid in the Wineland Park Elementary School was there for 6 months, because the families that these kids lived in had to keep moving. It's just how life worked. If those kids couldn't stay in this neighborhood, if their families couldn't stay in this neighborhood, what was the value of creating a mixed-income neighborhood for other folks? How did Columbus really, what was it really doing for people? So, with a strong social foundation, with new workforce readiness and job training in place, then we could really look at the other side of the coin. How do you invite the rest of the Columbus community to this neighborhood? And it's very much a policy of sort of infilling where the gaps are. There are probably about 800 housing units, 600 of them market rate being developed right now, but no one has had to leave Wineland Park. In fact, there's a responsible, I have to emphasize this, owner for the Section 8 housing units has emerged, who's really acting and like a neighbor, like everyone else. There's a CDC developing moderate income housing, and there's a developer creating hundreds of units of market rate housing, and it's all working. So, thank you, and good luck with your endeavors.
I want to talk about Greensburg, Kansas, and how they did what you're doing today, and how doing that helped to rebuild and transform their community. So in 2007, Greensburg, Kansas, a town of about 1,500, was struck by an F5 tornado that destroyed roughly 90% of the town. But even before the storm, Greensburg had been struggling. Population was greatly declining. Young people were moving to find better opportunities elsewhere. And so when the tornado struck, the people of Greensburg faced a major decision. Would they rebuild? And the New York Times, after the tornado, offered its opinion in an editorial where they said that Greensburg had been dying anyway, and that nature had basically done them a favor by accelerating that process, and the people who lived there could go move somewhere else and find somewhere better to live and just move on and forget about it. So that was the context where the people of Greensburg came together beneath the tent, because most of them no longer had their homes, to discuss their future. They came together to commit to rebuilding their town, and much like you've had the opportunity today, they came together to create a vision for a better Greensburg, and a Greensburg that would be worth returning to. So, the road to recovery is long and it's difficult, but the power of that vision that the people of Greensburg had for their future has become an international model for disaster recovery. And few people had heard about Greensburg before the tornado, but today the strength of that vision that they've created and that commitment that they've shown has inspired people around the world. It's attracted resources, allowed them to develop partnerships, it's spurred investment, and it's provided Greensburg with many new opportunities that they didn't have before. So, the evidence of the strength of this vision is clear on the streets today. There's a new city hall, there's new cultural facilities, there's a new business incubator. This is a picture of their new Main Street, which is an attractive, walkable streetscape, but also functions to retain filtered stormwater in a place where rainwater is scarce. They built a new high school. This high school is a community anchor. It's the heart of the community where people gather for all sorts of events. But when they built it back, they built it more energy efficient, saving money, and they also built it in a way that would be more conducive to learning. Greensburg Vision has also spurred private investment. This is a dealership that had sold farm equipment, but inspired by the vision that the people created, now they're working with telecommunications equipment, renewable energy products, and this is part of the new jobs and the new industries that the community will be able to provide so that they have an economic future. And how the people of Springfield have already responded to the tornado, you've already shown that commitment, you've already shown that determination and resilience. And today, moving forward with these meetings, you have an opportunity to set Springfield on Springfield's path toward a better future, and we look forward to working with you to do that.
So I hope that gives you some real sense of the kind of possibilities that you have and the wonderful visions that we heard in that last exercise. There's no reason in the world why that can't come true if people continue to stay engaged. So very quickly, we're about to get ready for our next exercise. And you see, and we have a little bit of moving around to do. We're going to jump back to that Nexus framework. We're going to look at those 6 domains: physical, cultural, social, organizational, educational, and economic. And I believe we have 6 tables that have those domains areas. So we'd like you to take some time to review what we think we understand are existing conditions right now around that particular domain. And then concentrating on your focused area, we want you to come up with 10 or so recommendations to fulfill the vision for Springfield around that domain. So if you would, look at what's there, look at what in some previous plans and those kinds of things people have stated as goals or important areas to focus on, and then take some time to discuss amongst yourselves, and then just brainstorm a list of recommendations, and then after that we'll do a little prioritization.